Clarifying your goals is one of the most essential steps you can take toward achieving focus in life. When you don't have a clear vision of what you want, it's easy to get distracted, wander off course, or lose motivation altogether. Clarity gives you direction, and direction gives you purpose. Without that, your energy gets scattered. Every day presents new options, decisions, and demands. If you're not anchored to something definite, you'll find yourself responding to whatever is most urgent or most convenient rather than what is most important. That's how people get stuck in cycles, working hard, staying busy, yet never really progressing. Clarity on your goals shifts that. It helps you make better choices, manage your time more wisely, and stay resilient when challenges show up. The process of clarifying your goals starts with honest self-reflection. What do you truly want? Not what others expect from you, not what sounds impressive, but what matters deeply to you. This can be harder than it sounds. We often carry the weight of external expectations, family, society, peers, or social media. So clarifying your goals means removing those layers and listening inward. Sometimes that means asking tough questions. What excites you? What would make your life feel meaningful? What kind of legacy do you want to leave? These are not questions with quick answers. They take time, patience, and sometimes even a willingness to sit with uncertainty until the truth surfaces, but the effort is worth it, because when your goals come from a place of authenticity, they carry more power. You'll feel more emotionally connected to them, and that emotional connection becomes fuel. Once you begin to get a sense of what your true goals are, the next step is to write them down. This might sound simple, even trivial, but it's a powerful act. Writing your goals transforms them from abstract thoughts into something concrete. It brings clarity and commitment. A goal written down is harder to ignore. It's a promise to yourself, a statement that says, "This matters to me." But not all goals are created equal. Vague goals like "be successful" or "get in shape" don't offer much guidance. What does success look like for you? What does getting in shape mean? Running a marathon, losing 20 pounds, or simply feeling more energetic? Specificity brings your goals to life. Instead of "be more productive," try "spend 90 minutes each morning on deep work without checking my phone." Instead of "save money," try "save $10 0 in the next 12 months by cutting back on unnecessary spending and building a budget." The more detailed your goal, the clearer the path to achieve it becomes. It also helps to break large goals into smaller steps. Big goals can feel overwhelming. If your goal is to write a book, the thought of finishing an entire manuscript might stop you before you start. But if your goal is to write 500 words a day, that's manageable. Over time, those small steps compound into major progress. This approach builds confidence and helps you stay consistent, which is critical to staying focused. Momentum is a powerful thing. When you see progress, even if it's incremental, it keeps you motivated. Every step forward confirms that you're moving in the right direction. You begin to trust yourself. That trust reinforces focus because now your efforts are tied to a clear and meaningful outcome. Another essential part of goal clarification is aligning your goals with your values. Goals that conflict with your core values create internal resistance. For example, if you highly value family time but your goal requires you to work 16-hour days 7 days a week, you're going to feel conflicted and eventually burn out or give up. That doesn't mean you can't have ambitious goals. It means you need to pursue them in ways that honor what's important to you. When your goals are aligned with your values, pursuing them feels natural. You may still face challenges, but the struggle has meaning. You're more likely to endure setbacks, stay patient, and persevere. You also need to revisit and refine your goals regularly. Life changes. You grow, your circumstances evolve, and your priorities may shift. What made sense a year ago might not serve you today. That's not a failure, it's a sign of growth. Staying focused doesn't mean rigidly clinging to goals that no longer fit. It means being adaptable while staying true to your deeper purpose. Make it a habit to reflect on your goals every few months. Ask yourself, is this still important to me? Is the path I'm on taking me where I want to go? What needs to change? These questions keep you grounded and ensure that your focus remains aligned with who you are and what you want now. Clarity also requires emotional honesty. Sometimes we avoid defining our goals clearly because we fear failure. If you name the goal and fall short, it feels like you've failed. But if you never name it, you can't fail, right? That kind of thinking keeps people stuck. The truth is, clarity doesn't guarantee success, but it dramatically increases the chances. Ambiguity, on the other hand, guarantees struggle. It keeps your efforts scattered and your results minimal. Facing your fears, naming your goals, and committing to them is a courageous act. It says, I'm willing to try, I'm willing to care, I'm willing to work towards something meaningful even if it's hard. Finally, sharing your goals can deepen your focus. When you tell someone you trust about what you're working toward, it adds a layer of accountability and support. Choose carefully. Share your goals with people who uplift you, not those who undermine your ambitions. But don't underestimate the power of community. Even a small circle of support can help keep you on track when your motivation wavers. In the end, staying focused starts with knowing exactly what you're aiming for. That clarity becomes the compass that guides your choices, shapes your habits, and fuels your persistence. It doesn't eliminate difficulty, but it makes difficulty worthwhile. With a clear goal in front of you, you're no longer drifting, you're moving with purpose. And that changes everything. In today's world, distractions are everywhere. They come in countless forms: notifications on your phone, background noise, social media, emails, streaming services, even your own thoughts. The ability to stay focused has become one of the most valuable skills a person can develop, and it all starts with eliminating distractions. Distractions steal time, energy, and attention. They may seem small or harmless at first, but they add up. A few minutes here, a quick scroll there, a sudden urge to check your inbox. Before you know it, an hour has passed, and you're nowhere near where you intended to be. If this happens often, and for most people it does, it becomes a pattern. A pattern that slowly pulls you away from your goals, your productivity, and even your sense of peace. Eliminating distractions doesn't mean you have to live in isolation or become rigid. It means being intentional about how you protect your attention. It's not always about removing every possible interruption. It's about reducing their power over you. The first step is awareness. Many distractions become habitual. You check your phone without thinking. You open a new tab out of boredom. You multitask because it feels productive. The brain gets used to switching rapidly between tasks, which fragments attention and lowers your ability to think deeply. When you become aware of what distracts you most often and how those distractions make you feel, you take the first step toward regaining control. One powerful way to eliminate distractions is to audit your environment. Look around the spaces where you do your most important work. Is your phone always within reach? Are there constant alerts from apps or emails? Is your workspace cluttered or chaotic? Your environment shapes your behavior more than you might realize. If your surroundings are filled with triggers for distraction, you're going to struggle. No matter how much willpower you have, change the environment to change the outcome. That might mean turning off non-essential notifications, putting your phone in another room, using noise, canceling headphones, or organizing your desk so it's clean and calming. Small environmental tweaks can make a huge difference in your ability to focus. It's also important to manage digital distractions. The internet is a powerful tool, but it's also designed to keep you clicking, scrolling, and consuming. Social media platforms, news feeds, and entertainment apps are engineered to be addictive. They capitalize on curiosity, novelty, and the dopamine hit you get from something new or interesting. That doesn't mean you have to delete every app or avoid technology altogether, but it does mean you need to set boundaries. You can use website blockers, schedule specific times for checking social media, or uninstall apps that you know consume too much of your attention. Technology can serve you or it can use you. The choice is in how you manage it. Another overlooked distraction is multitasking. People often believe they are being efficient by doing multiple things at once. In reality, multitasking reduces the quality of your attention and increases the time it takes to complete tasks. The brain isn't designed to focus deeply on more than one cognitive task at a time. What feels like multitasking is usually just rapid tasks, which comes with a mental cost every time you switch. Focus requires depth. When you concentrate on one thing at a time, you enter a state of flow where work becomes smoother, more enjoyable, and more effective. Eliminating the urge to multitask frees up your mental bandwidth and improves the quality of your work and thinking. Some distractions come from within. These are the internal interruptions, restlessness, boredom, anxiety, or the sudden desire to do something else. You sit down to focus and suddenly remember something unrelated, or you feel the urge to check your phone for no specific reason. These internal cues are harder to control because they're not triggered by external noise. They come from patterns in your mind. The key here is to develop awareness and to practice resisting the impulse to immediately respond. When you notice the thought, name it silently, that's a distraction, then return to the task. The more you practice catching these internal distractions without acting on them, the stronger your focus muscle becomes. Time management also plays a role in eliminating distractions. When you don't have a plan for your day, you're more likely to drift. A loose schedule invites interruptions. But when you define specific blocks of time for focused work, rest, meetings, and breaks, you give your day structure. This structure acts as a defense against chaos. It helps you say no to interruptions because you know what you're supposed to be doing at any given time. Planning your day also helps you mentally prepare for periods of deep focus, which makes it easier to resist distractions when they arise. Even a simple to-do list with clear priorities can help you stay anchored in purpose rather than reacting to whatever comes your way. One of the most effective ways to reduce distractions is to create rituals around focus. These rituals signal to your brain that it's time to shift gears. For example, you might start your work block by making a cup of tea, closing all unnecessary tabs, and writing down your most important task. You might listen to the same playlist, light a candle, or take 3 deep breaths. These small actions aren't magical on their own, but over time they train your brain to associate them with focus. Rituals create a rhythm and make it easier to get into a productive mindset. When you repeat them consistently, you build a powerful association that makes deep work feel more natural and automatic. Another form of distraction is people, friends, colleagues, or family members who interrupt your flow. If you're always available, you'll always be distracted. Setting boundaries is necessary. That might mean communicating clearly about your work hours, using a do not disturb sign, or setting expectations around response times. Being respectful but firm helps others understand that your time is valuable. Most people will adjust once they realize you are serious about protecting your focus. Boundaries aren't selfish. They're essential to doing your best work and showing up fully for others when the time is right. Finally, rest and recovery are part of eliminating distractions. When you're tired, unfocused, or overwhelmed, your mind becomes more susceptible to interruptions. You start looking for an escape. Distractions become more tempting when you're mentally or physically depleted. That's why getting enough sleep, taking breaks, moving your body, and having downtime are not luxuries, they're necessities. Focus is not just about effort, it's about balance. A well-rested mind is a focused mind. When you take care of your energy, you're less likely to reach for distractions and more likely to stay present with your tasks. Eliminating distractions is not about creating a perfect system or becoming superhuman. It's about being honest with yourself about what gets in your way and making small, consistent choices to reduce their influence. Each step you take to eliminate distractions, whether external or internal, frees up more of your time, attention, and energy for what truly matters. Focus is a skill, and like any skill, it gets stronger the more you practice. The more you eliminate what doesn't matter, the more room you create for what does. And in that space, your best work, your clearest thinking, and your greatest progress can unfold. Daily discipline is the foundation upon which long-term success is built. It is the quiet, consistent force that pushes you forward even when motivation is low, distractions are many, or the path ahead seems unclear. Developing discipline means choosing to show up and do the work, especially when you don't feel like it. It is not about perfection or intensity, it's about consistency. It's about training your mind and body to follow through on your intentions. Discipline transforms goals from ideas into outcomes. Without it, even the best plans fall apart. With it, progress becomes inevitable. To develop daily discipline, it's important to first understand that discipline is not something you either have or don't have. It's a skill. Like any skill, it can be developed, strengthened, and refined over time. But to do that, you have to start small. Many people make the mistake of trying to overhaul their entire routine overnight. They commit to waking up early, eating perfectly, working out, staying off social media, and finishing every task on their to-do list, all starting tomorrow. That kind of drastic change is usually unsustainable. Real discipline is built gradually. You start with one small habit, one daily commitment that you can maintain. Maybe it's waking up 30 minutes earlier, reading 10 pages a day, or writing for 15 minutes every morning. The size of the action doesn't matter as much as the consistency. When you do something every single day, no matter how small, it sends a message to your mind, I follow through. That message becomes part of your identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who is disciplined, and that belief creates momentum. Daily discipline also requires structure. A well-structured day supports good habits and makes it easier to stay on track. That doesn't mean your schedule has to be rigid, but it should be intentional. Knowing when you'll wake up, when you'll work, when you'll rest, and when you'll engage in important routines removes the need for constant decision-making. Decision fatigue is real, and the more choices you have to make throughout the day, the more your self-discipline wears down. That's why people with strong daily discipline often rely on routines. Routines reduce friction. When your actions become automatic, you don't have to battle yourself every time you need to do something important. You just do it. That's the power of habit working in your favor. Another key part of building daily discipline is setting clear, meaningful priorities. Without a sense of what truly matters, it's easy to waste time on urgent but unimportant tasks. Discipline is not just about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. That means you have to be honest with yourself about where your time goes. You might need to say no to things that are enjoyable but unproductive. You might have to delay gratification, choosing the long-term reward over the short-term pleasure. This is where discipline can feel uncomfortable. It asks you to choose the workout over the snooze button, the focused work over the social media scroll, the uncomfortable conversation over passive avoidance. But each time you choose growth over comfort, you reinforce your discipline. Self-discipline is also strengthened by accountability. When you're the only one who knows what you're supposed to do, it's easy to make excuses. But when you share your goals with someone or track your habits in a visible way, it adds a layer of responsibility. You can use a journal, a habit tracker, or a trusted friend to hold yourself accountable. The point isn't to create pressure or guilt, it's to create awareness. When you see your actions lined up against your intentions, you begin to notice the gaps. And awareness creates the opportunity to improve. You can't fix what you don't see. Another important element of daily discipline is managing your energy. Discipline is not about pushing yourself to exhaustion. It's about sustaining effort over time. To do that, you need to pay attention to your physical and mental energy. Sleep, nutrition, movement, and rest are not side concerns. They are essential. When you're tired or burnt out, your discipline suffers. You're more likely to skip tasks, give in to temptation, or procrastinate. Taking care of your body and mind is not a distraction from discipline. It is part of it. You have to protect your energy like a valuable resource, because it is. There will be days when your discipline wavers. That's normal. No one is perfectly consistent. What matters is how you respond. Do you give up because you missed a day, or do you get back on track the next day? Discipline is not about never falling. It's about always getting back up. When you miss a habit or fall short of a goal, use it as a learning moment. Ask yourself what got in the way and what you can adjust moving forward. This attitude of self-correction helps you grow without slipping into self-criticism. Discipline rooted in self-respect lasts longer than discipline rooted in guilt or shame. Rewards can also play a role in maintaining discipline. When you associate your habits with positive outcomes, you're more likely to stick with them. These rewards don't have to be external. Sometimes the reward is the feeling of satisfaction after completing a task, the pride in seeing progress, or the calm that comes from staying on track. Reinforce those feelings, notice them, let your discipline be something you value, not just something you tolerate. The more you connect discipline with positive emotion, the more it becomes part of who you are. Patience is perhaps one of the most underrated aspects of daily discipline. We live in a culture that wants results now, but real growth takes time. Discipline is about planting seeds and trusting that they will grow, even when you don't see immediate results. You have to believe in the process. You have to understand that the habits you build today will shape your reality tomorrow. That kind of faith in the long term is what keeps disciplined people going. They don't expect instant transformation. They commit to steady improvement. Developing daily discipline is not a one-time effort. It is a lifelong practice. There will always be new challenges, new goals, new temptations. But each time you choose to follow through on a commitment, no matter how small, you build strength. That strength becomes part of your identity, and with each passing day, you become more capable, more focused, and more in control of your direction. Discipline doesn't limit your freedom, it creates it. When you have control over your actions, you have the power to shape your life. You're no longer at the mercy of distractions, mood swings, or fleeting motivation. You are grounded in purpose, guided by routine, and fueled by the quiet power of daily effort. That's what discipline looks like. Not loud, not flashy, but steady. And over time, it changes everything. Prioritizing what matters is the art of choosing where to direct your finite time, energy, and attention so that your actions create the greatest possible impact. It begins with recognizing that you cannot do everything, and that trying to do so only dilutes your effectiveness. Every day presents dozens of tasks, obligations, and opportunities. Some are compelling but trivial, others are demanding yet essential. When you decide consciously which ones deserve your focus, you transform chaos into clarity. Instead of being pulled in every direction by the loudest demand, you steer toward the actions that push the needle on your goals and values. This deliberate selection is more than a planning exercise. It is a mindset that guides each decision throughout the day, ensuring that you invest yourself where the returns are highest. The first step in prioritization is gaining insight into what truly matters to you. That insight comes from aligning tasks with larger goals and core values. If your overarching aim is to build a healthy body, tasks related to exercise, nutrition, and rest belong near the top of the list. If your highest value is family connection, activities that strengthen those bonds take precedence over less meaningful obligations. Clarifying the link between tasks and personal purpose prevents you from chasing illusions of productivity, checking boxes that look good but carry little significance. A simple way to assess a task is to ask, does this contribute directly to my primary objectives? If the answer is no, set it aside, delegate it, or schedule it for a later time when higher impact work is done. Once you know what matters, you need a method to differentiate the critical from the merely urgent. Many people fall into the trap of urgency culture, jumping at every email ping or same-day request. Urgency triggers a stress response. It feels important simply because it is immediate. But importance is a different metric. Importance measures long-term value, not short-term noise. The Eisenhower decision matrix captures this distinction by dividing tasks into 4 categories: important and urgent, important but not urgent, urgent but not important, and neither. Spending most of your time in the important but not urgent quadrant is where real progress happens. These are the acts of planning, strategic thinking, skill, building, and relationship cultivation that rarely yell for attention yet ultimately shape your future. By scheduling them first, before the day's emergencies appear, you ensure they are not sacrificed to the tyranny of the urgent. Another tool for prioritization is the 80/20 principle, also known as Pareto's Law. This principle suggests that roughly 80% of results come from 20% of efforts. By identifying the small set of actions that generate outsized returns, you maximize effectiveness while reducing wasted motion. In practice, that might mean discovering that 2 main marketing channels bring in most of your clients, or that one form of study yields the greatest academic gains. The challenge is to recognize these leverage points and concentrate your resources there. Ruthlessly trim or streamline the rest. People often hesitate to drop low-value tasks because they are familiar or comfortable, yet that reluctance is itself a distraction. Eliminating or automating the trivial many frees up capacity for the vital few, magnifying both productivity and satisfaction. Prioritization is not static. It is a dynamic practice that responds to changing circumstances. Projects evolve, emergencies happen, and new opportunities emerge. Therefore, regularly reassessing your priorities keeps your actions aligned with current reality. A weekly review is a powerful habit. Examine your goals, reflect on recent progress, and adjust your task list accordingly. Ask yourself which commitments still serve your objectives and which have become dead weight. This review is also your chance to celebrate wins and identify bottlenecks. When you notice drift, time slipping into low-value activities, correct quickly rather than letting the drift become habit. Consistency in reviewing and realigning priorities is what turns occasional bursts of focus into a sustained trajectory toward meaningful outcomes. Even with clear priorities, resistance arises in the form of procrastination, perfectionism, and people-pleasing. Tackling high-leverage tasks often feels uncomfortable precisely because they matter. The stakes are higher, the work may be unfamiliar, and the risk of failure looms larger. Recognize that discomfort as a signal, not a stop sign. Break daunting tasks into smaller, actionable steps and schedule them early in the day while your willpower is strongest. To counter perfectionism, set process-based goals. Complete a rough outline, write for 30 minutes, make the first sales call, rather than waiting for ideal circumstances. As for external pressures, remember that every yes is a no to something else. Overcommitment erodes your ability to serve your own mission. Setting boundaries protects the time blocks reserved for top priority work, and communicating those boundaries respectfully prevents misunderstandings with colleagues and loved ones. Technology can be both ally and adversary in prioritization. Digital tools offer calendars, task managers, and focus timers that support clarity and accountability, yet they can just as easily drown you in notifications and multitasking. Use technology intentionally. Silence non-essential alerts, group communication windows into designated times, and rely on simple lists or Kanban boards to visualize priorities. A visible plan reduces cognitive load. When your next action is obvious, you waste less mental energy deciding where to begin. Analog aids, such as a post-it with the day's 3 most important tasks, can be equally powerful. The medium matters less than the discipline of consulting it and acting on it throughout the day. Energy management is an often overlooked dimension of prioritization. Placing your most important work during your peak energy periods amplifies quality and speed. If you write best in the morning, schedule creative tasks then, reserve administrative duties for slower afternoon hours. Honoring your natural rhythms transforms the same hour into significantly greater output. Likewise, breaks are not a luxury but a strategic investment. Short pauses restore mental clarity, preventing the fatigue that nudges you toward easy, low-priority work. Nutrition, exercise, and sleep underpin sustained focus. Skimping on them may create temporary time gains but ultimately costs productivity and health. Finally, remember that prioritization is as much about what you choose to ignore as what you choose to pursue. Saying no whether to tempting opportunities, volunteer requests, or alluring side projects is an affirmation of your deeper yes. It can feel uncomfortable, yet it protects space for endeavors that truly matter. Reflecting at the end of the day on whether your actions matched your priorities builds self-honesty and resilience. If they did, acknowledge the progress. If they didn't, analyze the lapse without judgment and plan a better strategy for tomorrow. Prioritizing what matters is a continuous dialogue between vision and action. It demands self-knowledge, courage, and a willingness to refine choices in real time. By aligning tasks with your highest values, distinguishing importance from urgency, focusing on leverage points, reviewing regularly, and protecting your energy, you create a life where effort converts into meaningful progress. Over weeks and months, this disciplined practice compounds. Projects advance, skills deepen, and a sense of purpose solidifies. In a world overflowing with possibilities and distractions, the ability to prioritize what matters is not merely a productivity hack. It is a profound statement about the life you intend to live. Time is the one resource we all possess in equal measure each day. 4 hours to spend, invest, or waste. Unlike money, time cannot be earned back once it's gone. Every moment you allow to slip away is a moment you never recover. That's why protecting your time is not a luxury or an advanced productivity tactic. It's a necessity. It is an intentional commitment to treat your time as precious, to guard it from distractions, interruptions, and low-value demands so you can use it to build the life you want. It's not just about scheduling or time management. It's about cultivating respect for your own focus and attention. Protecting your time starts with awareness. Too often, people underestimate how much time they lose in a day. Time lost not to big decisions, but to tiny leaks. A few minutes on social media, a spontaneous meeting, checking email every 10 minutes, switching between tasks with no clear purpose. These small fragments add up. Before long, the day is over, and the important work is still waiting. The first step to reclaiming time is tracking where it actually goes. For a few days, observe your behavior. Write down how you spend each hour. You may be surprised to find how much time is eaten by reactive behaviors. Awareness brings choice. Once you know the patterns, you can start to interrupt them. Interruptions are one of the most consistent threats to your time. In many cases, they don't come from emergencies, but from preventable sources. Notifications open, door policies, or simply not setting boundaries. To protect your time, you must become proactive about creating uninterrupted blocks of work. This means closing email tabs, silencing your phone, and informing others that you're not available during focused work sessions. You may feel guilty at first for not responding instantly, but remember, every time you let someone else's urgency dictate your day, you lose ownership of your time. Protecting your time requires confidence in your right to focus. It is not rude to guard your mental space, it is responsible. Boundaries are essential in this practice. Many people give away their time because they don't want to disappoint others or appear unhelpful. But saying yes to everything is unsustainable. Each yes adds a commitment to your calendar, consuming space and energy that could go to higher priorities. Learning to say no is one of the most powerful ways to protect your time. This doesn't mean being uncooperative, it means being strategic. You can decline requests respectfully, offer alternatives, or suggest a later time when you're less committed. The key is to pause before agreeing and ask yourself, does this align with what matters most? If the answer is no, protect your time by turning it down. In addition to saying no, another way to protect your time is to design your day intentionally. Don't leave your schedule to chance. If you don't plan your time, someone else will. Start each day with clarity on your top priorities and assign them time blocks just like appointments. Treat these time blocks as non-negotiable. This approach prevents your most important work from being pushed aside by whatever arises during the day. Time blocking works because it reduces decision fatigue. You don't have to decide what to do next every hour because you've already made that decision. It also creates a sense of urgency and structure. When your calendar reflects your true priorities, your time is protected by design. Discipline plays a major role in honoring the time you set aside. It's not enough to carve out 2 hours for deep work if you spend it checking messages or hopping between tabs. Once you've set the boundary, you must enforce it. This is where tools like timers, browser blockers, or physical cues like noise, canceling headphones can help, but ultimately it's an inner decision. Protecting your time is a promise you make to yourself, and the more you keep that promise, the stronger your self-trust becomes. You begin to believe that when you plan something, it will actually happen. That belief is powerful. It builds confidence, momentum, and consistency. Another key element in protecting your time is eliminating low-value activities. Not every task on your list deserves your attention. Some tasks can be delegated, automated, or removed entirely. Review your commitments regularly and ask, what could someone else do better or faster? What repetitive tasks could be streamlined with technology? What meetings are unnecessary or longer than they need to be? Each of these questions helps you reclaim minutes and hours. Protecting your time isn't just about avoiding distractions. It's about refusing to waste it on things that don't move you forward. When you clear away the noise, what remains is space for work that matters. It's also important to build in buffers and breathing room. A packed schedule might look productive, but it leaves no margin for the unexpected. And the unexpected always happens. Traffic, tech issues, last-minute requests. When your calendar is too tight, these moments cause a domino effect that throws off your entire day. Protect your time by allowing space between tasks and by underestimating what you can do in a day rather than overloading yourself. This creates resilience. You're not just managing time, you're managing your energy and expectations. A little margin gives you room to adapt without collapsing under pressure. Social and cultural expectations can also challenge your ability to protect your time. In some environments, busyness is seen as a badge of honor. But being busy is not the same as being effective. If you're constantly working but never making real progress, it's time to reassess. Protecting your time may mean redefining your identity, not as someone who is always available, but as someone who gets the right things done. This shift can feel lonely at first, especially if others are still caught in the cycle of constant activity. But as you begin to see the results of focused, intentional effort, the value becomes clear. Rest is another form of time protection that is often overlooked. When you rest, you recharge your mental and physical capacity. Without rest, your efficiency drops, mistakes increase, and burnout creeps in. Protecting time for rest, breaks during the day, evenings without screens, full nights of sleep, is not a weakness, it's a strategic necessity. Rest supports focus, creativity, and resilience. It allows you to return to your work with clarity and energy. When you prioritize rest, you ensure that the time you do spend working is sharper and more impactful. In the end, protecting your time is about protecting your life. How you spend your hours is how you live your days, and how you live your days becomes the story of your life. Every moment spent with intention adds to that story. Every hour protected from noise and chaos is an hour given to purpose, growth, or connection. You are the gatekeeper of your time. No one else will guard it for you. Not your employer, not your clients, not even your loved ones. It's up to you to decide that your time matters, and once you make that decision, everything changes. You become more focused, more fulfilled, and more in control of your own path. Staying mentally aligned means maintaining a consistent connection between your thoughts, actions, values, and goals. It's the foundation for clarity, focus, and progress. When your mind is scattered, pulled in conflicting directions, or burdened with inner resistance, even the best strategies fail to gain traction. Mental alignment is not about perfection or never having doubts. It's about regularly bringing your attention back to what matters, checking in with yourself, and realigning when you drift. It's a dynamic process that allows you to stay centered, focused, and motivated, especially when the demands of daily life threaten to pull you off course. The first step toward mental alignment is clarity. Without a clear sense of purpose, it's easy to chase distractions or commit to things that don't truly matter. Clarity means understanding what you want and why. It's about knowing the deeper reasons behind your goals, not just the surface-level desires. When you're mentally aligned, your goals are rooted in personal meaning, not just external validation or comparison. This kind of clarity gives you a powerful internal compass. Even when challenges arise, you can navigate them with purpose because you know what you're working toward and why it's worth it. Mental alignment also involves self-awareness. You need to understand how your thoughts influence your actions and how your emotions shape your decisions. Everyone deals with internal noise, self-doubt, fear, overthinking, but the key is learning to observe those thoughts without being ruled by them. Being mentally aligned means you can recognize when you're drifting into negative patterns and bring yourself back with intention. Instead of reacting automatically, you respond with awareness. This level of presence keeps you connected to your highest intentions, even in difficult or uncertain moments. One practical way to stay mentally aligned is through regular reflection. Carving out time each day or week to check in with yourself allows you to assess whether your current path matches your deeper goals. Journaling, meditation, or even a quiet walk without distractions can give you the space to reconnect with your thoughts. During these moments, ask yourself if your recent actions reflect your values. Are you moving toward the outcomes you care about, or have you allowed urgency, fear, or external pressure to take the lead? Reflection is not about judgment, it's about course correction. It's how you notice the drift before it becomes distance. A crucial part of staying mentally aligned is managing your mindset. Your perspective shapes your experience. If you approach challenges as threats, you'll feel overwhelmed and paralyzed. But if you see them as opportunities to learn and grow, you stay open and adaptable. A growth mind that doesn't ignore difficulty, it reframes it. It says, "This is hard, but I can figure it out," or "I've made mistakes, but I'm still learning." When your mental framework supports resilience and persistence, your alignment strengthens. You stay grounded even in turbulence because your inner voice champions progress instead of punishment. Mental alignment also relies on eliminating internal contradictions. If your goals say one thing but your habits say another, you experience mental tension. That tension shows up as stress, procrastination, or a sense of being stuck. The way out is honesty. Be honest about what you're doing and whether it matches what you claim to want. Are you saying you want to improve your health but avoiding exercise? Are you aiming for a creative career but spending your best hours scrolling through social media? When your behavior is inconsistent with your goals, your mind senses the gap and creates discomfort. Closing that gap, bit by bit, restores alignment and peace. Another element of staying mentally aligned is protecting your mental space. Just as you guard your time, you must also guard your thoughts from unnecessary noise and influence. That means being mindful about what you consume. News, entertainment, social media, conversations. Too much external input can drown out your inner voice. When your head is filled with other people's opinions, fears, and priorities, it's easy to lose sight of your own. Choose your inputs wisely, read things that inspire growth. Spend time with people who uplift you. Limit exposure to negativity. Create quiet pockets in your day where you can simply think without distraction. These habits create a mental environment that supports clarity and alignment. Emotional regulation is another core part of mental alignment. Emotions are not enemies, they're signals. But when you're not in tune with them, they can lead you away from your intentions. For example, reacting in anger can damage relationships, or avoiding discomfort can keep you from important conversation. Staying aligned means acknowledging emotions without letting them hijack your behavior. It's learning to sit with discomfort without rushing to escape it. When you can stay present with your feelings and still choose intentional actions, your mind remains in sync with your goals and values. This doesn't require emotional suppression, it requires emotional intelligence. Staying mentally aligned also means making space for joy, gratitude, and presence. If your entire focus is on achieving and striving, you may lose touch with the simple things that make life meaningful. Mental alignment isn't just about productivity. It's about living in a way that feels congruent with who you are. That includes savoring small victories, appreciating progress, and connecting with others. When you're present in your day-to-day life, you reinforce alignment by experiencing meaning right now, not just chasing it in the future. This kind of presence fuels long-term motivation and well-being. One of the greatest challenges to mental alignment is inconsistency. It's easy to be aligned for a day, a week, or even a month. But staying aligned over time requires habits and systems that reinforce your intentions. Small daily practices, a morning routine, evening reflection, intentional planning, can act as anchors. They bring your focus back to what matters and prevent drift. You don't have to be perfect, but when you miss a day, you return. When you slip, you reset. This commitment to return again and again is what keeps you aligned through the ups and downs. Accountability can also strengthen mental alignment. Sharing your goals with someone you trust, whether a friend, mentor, or coach, creates external reinforcement. When you know someone will ask how things are going, you're more likely to stay focused. But more than that, conversations about your goals and values help clarify your thinking. They remind you why you started. Just speaking your intentions out loud can reignite your commitment and help you see your next step more clearly. Alignment is supported by connection, not just to yourself, but to others who help you stay true to your path. Ultimately, staying mentally aligned is about living with integrity. When your thoughts, words, and actions match your values and purpose, you feel strong, centered, and confident. Challenges become part of the journey rather than reasons to quit. Distractions lose their grip because your focus has deeper roots. You don't have to chase motivation. It arises naturally from within. You feel energized not just by what you're doing, but by knowing you're doing it for the right reasons. This kind of alignment is rare but powerful. It gives you direction, peace, and the ability to keep moving forward, one clear, intentional step at a time.